My Efteling annual pass is up for renewal, but with all the changes that have been announced, is it really worth it? If you've been listening for a while, you know that last year was the first year that I got an annual pass to Efteling to try it out. I got the middle tier subscription and I kept track of all the times I went, the expenses, everything like that, all the discounts, just to see if it was worth it at the end of the year. My suspicion was no, but I will share all these details with you later on in the episode. Also, we're going to take a look at the new food offerings that Efteling has because they needed it and I have thoughts. But first, hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to this podcast, Factor Nostalgia, where we discuss everything theme park then, now, and when. This means that we do trip reviews, we do deep dives, we do tips and tricks, all these different things that all have to do with what we love going to theme parks. And if that's the type of stuff that you like to listen to, that you would like to hear more of, then you have the option of becoming a Patreon subscriber or a patron, if you will. Links will be in the show notes as they always are. What this means is that you will make a small monthly contribution, monetary contribution to the podcast, which will help me out with things like hosting costs, materials, things like that. Not my annual pass, I promise you. Of course, each tier that you can select comes with its own perks. There's also a free membership, and I also appreciate if you do that. So, by all means. There are perks associated with all of this, and the most important one is the community of theme park loving individuals that I'm trying to build. So, with all that being said, again, links are in the show note, and we're going to get back to your regularly scheduled episode. First things first, if you're thinking, man, she sounds like she's struggling, that's because I have a cold. My youngest had her first week at daycare and immediately brought home some viruses. So here we are. But that has not deterred me from recording this episode for you guys. So here we go. Now, last year, I decided to get an Efteling annual pass mostly because I have one day during the week that I'm not at work because I was spending time with my kid. So they don't have to go to daycare the full week. My husband does the same. Grandma takes one day. So they're at daycare a couple days a week. And the rest of the days we want to go do fun stuff. Now, the fun stuff that I wanted to do obviously was theme parks because he is now 2. At the time, he was obviously a year and a half, which meant that at Efteling, or which means that at Efteling, you can go in for free. It's for kids up to and including 3 years old. So he still has a ways to go before he needs to start paying for his own ticket. The reason I got the annual pass was because on this particular day in the week that I'm off, I wanted to be able to take him for half a day or whatever, walk around the fairy tale forest, get on Droomvlucht, carnival festival, stuff like that, and just to spend some time. And it worked out because he actually recently told me that he wants to go back to Efteling unprompted. So, subscribe for more parenting tips. Anyway, this was my initial motivation. And at the time, they still offered their parking subscriptions as well, which meant that you paid 55 euros for a full year of parking at Efteling. Now, normally at the time it was 12.50. In the meantime, they've increased it to 15 euros. So a parking ticket is 15 euros. So that 55 euros was a really good deal. They have since stopped offering that. I did a full episode on why and everything like that. Actually twice. Once I talked about it live at Efteling with my friend Kiki, and then I also did a special on, can Efteling still grow? Yes or no? And what are the restrictions that they're dealing with, which is where the parking thing comes into play. I'll link to both of those in the show notes if you want to know a little bit more about, the how and why and things like that. So let's talk numbers because, of course, like I said, I kept track of everything so I could share it with you guys here. Now, the subscription that I had at the time, the middle tier, was the plus version. They had classic, premium, and plus, or they still do, or classic plus premium, I should say. And at the time, plus was 275 euros and the parking was 55, as I said. So I spent 330 euros in one go to get this annual pass. Why did I do it in one go and not monthly? Well, one go is a little bit cheaper. And also, I don't want that monthly occurrence because that also makes it, easier to forget if you want to stop your annual pass or anything like that. If you pay it in one go, once it lapses, it lapses, So, okay, that's what I did. Now, what I did in my little notebook here that you guys can't see, but I have in front of me, is every time I went, I wrote it down. I wrote down the ticket price of the day, the parking fee, and the discount. I actually see here that the 15 euros was all that time for Efteling when I got my annual pass. So my bad. They had already changed it to 15. Now, as for the ticket price, I did not take the listed ticket price on the website. What I did was take the discounted ticket that you could get at Albert Heijn. For those of you that don't know, Albert Heijn is a large grocery store chain here in the Netherlands. And every year they have Efteling weeks where you can collect points depending on how much you spend. And you can use those points for discounted tickets for Efteling. Now, at the time, because even that discount has gotten smaller and smaller, last year, with the discount for a flexible ticket, you would pay 39.50. This year, that already went up to 42 euros. So I kept track of both of those, and those are the numbers I use to keep it fair. Because if I use the 50 something price tag, of course it's going to work out easier. But I wanted to know, is it actually, with all the discounts that they have throughout the year, is the annual pass still worth it? So you're still with me? Good. The Plus Pass also gives you two friends tickets or friends and family tickets, which are discounted at 50% of the top rate. So you don't always get like a full 50% if you go on a cheaper day. You just get like 50% of the top rate for a park ticket for a friend. Now, this is valid for the calendar year in which you purchase it. So they could even go without you. I used these for my husband when we went to the Efteling Grand Hotel back in January that I also did an episode on, which I will also link to in the show notes. And this immediately I want to highlight because this also allowed me to book with a discount. So there are special pass holder rates for hotel rooms. Efteling Grand Hotel has the smallest discount of all, and it's not very transparent how much of a discount you actually get. Like you have to call and just ask for the price, and then you can try to compare it with the price they ask for on the website. But it's not super easy, to be honest. But okay, we did that. We got a little discount, and we stayed at the hotel. Other perks for the Plus subscription is that it offers you a 5% discount on merch and food. 5% is not a lot. Like it's even less than Disney offers for their middle tier subscription, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. Okay, so the actual numbers. If I look at this list I have in front of me, I have visited the park 10 times, including one overnight stay. So that's 10 times the tickets, the parking, all of that that I got out of my subscription. All of that put together with the little discounts, the 5% ish. I don't have all of the discounts because sometimes you don't get a receipt and sometimes I'm just not paying attention to what the actual price is. But all in all, if I look at these numbers, I saved about 250 euros. That doesn't sound half bad, does it? Here's the thing though. If I had not had the annual pass, I wouldn't have gone this often. Before I had the annual pass, I would go maybe twice a year, and if you only go twice a year, obviously a pass like that isn't going to be worth it, especially because you usually go on the crowded weekends and everything, which, most of the passes aren't even valid for. So keep that in mind. On the one hand, yes, I did save 250 euros on my visits, but would I have made all these visits without the pass? No. By the way, at the time of recording, I have one more trip planned, which I'm going to get back to later. The reason I'm doing that one more trip and stuff like that. We'll get to it. Now, for the new year, obviously there are new prices and new rates with everything. So before, when I got my annual pass the first time, a classic pass was priced at 225. Right now, it's 240. The plus pass that I got was 275. Now it's 310. And the premium one was 390 and is now 400. So if you look at it percentage wise, the premium one actually had the smallest increase in price. Add to that, however, the parking situation. Now there is no longer a parking subscription that you can get. No longer, you don't have the flat fee for the full year anymore, but you do get a discount on parking depending on which pass you have. A classic pass will get you a 40% discount, a plus will get you a 50%, and premium will get you 60% discount on parking. So for the ease of calculation, I'm going to say that I'm going to go 10 times, which is less than one time a month, and with the parking discount for a plus subscription. So instead of the 15 euros each time, I pay 7.50 each time, which amounts to 75 bucks, which is more than I paid before with the 55. If I were to extend my pass, I would in the end pay 385, whereas last year I paid 330. To be entirely fair, I also mapped out what premium would cost me this year. Again, with the 10 visits, I would be paying 460. Now, next to that 385 that plus would cost me this year, or for the upcoming year, I should say, that's a 75 euro difference. However, the premium gives you 4 friends and family tickets rather than 2. So that's another 50 something in total that you can save, which already makes the difference a lot smaller. This year it was full price ticket was 56 euros when I got them. I don't know what they're going to be doing next year, of course, but let's say that's another 56 euros. So then the difference only becomes 19 euros between the plus and the premium pass. Add to that that with a premium, of course, you can go every day. Now, the real question is, will I be extending this, yes or no? Now, in case you're wondering, Efteling does offer something if you want to extend your pass, but it's very on par with that 5% discount you get with a plus pass. If I were to extend my pass, I will get a 20 euro credit to spend in Efteling, which sounds good, right? Except that I would have to change to a monthly payment plan. The difference between a monthly payment plan and paying up front is 32 euros. So that's not really an offer, is it? So if I were to extend, then I'm still going to do the lump sum at the beginning of the year and, call it a day. Um, but the thing is it going to be worth it? Yes or no? Now, I did not get any Efteling discounted tickets for myself from Albert Heijn this year. Um, so if I were to go again without a pass, I would have to pay the full price. I would also have to pay the full price for parking. Um, Now, this doesn't really matter if you don't plan on going a bunch of times. But the thing is, I'm not sure I will. Now, I thought about it because I know that some of my Efteling episodes do really well on certain platforms. So I've been thinking about me, doing more, maybe adding in some video as well. Now, if I want to do that, I can totally justify a premium pass, right? This is me thinking out loud with you guys, by the way. But I need to make sure that I go, on average once a month. Now, if I look at how these past few weeks have been going, that could work because here's who I am as a theme park visitor. A lot of my friends and people around me know that I'm their go-to theme park person for questions, for practical planning, things like that. So every time somebody texts me and says, "Hey, you want to go to Efteling?" I say yes. Also in part because I have that pass, but it's always a good time, and depending on who you go with, each visit is different. Now again, initially I thought I wouldn't be extending this pass after that first year, but right now things could still happen, but right now I'm leaning towards yes. Here's why. For one, like I said, I'm that person that I say yes to if somebody asks me to go. I already have visits planned in August. So and that's when my pass has expired. So by that logic, I would have to extend it by then. And then I already have like a couple visits that I can do with that new pass. Now the real question is, do I do plus or do I do premium? And with the small difference, that 19 euro difference, I'm leaning very hard into premium. And I know Efteling did this to kind of discourage people from taking a lot of annual passes and things like that because they're trying to discourage these half day visit people, such as myself, which may be actually for me all the more reason to enjoy it while it lasts. Because my kids are young, they don't actually have to pay for access to the park. With those 4 friends tickets, I can take the whole family. I can have my husband use those. The kids get in for free, so we have like 4 days out planned already. And I know for my husband, 4 days is a lot, but I could bring whoever, you know. Like for example, the one visit I still have planned is going to be with a bunch of moms with kids in the same age as mine, and we're all just going to go do the kid stuff. Whereas one of the last visits I took was with a bunch of friends, a bunch of 30 something year olds mostly, and we just did thrill rides. So, like I said, each visit can be different, and all these different people who then want to go, I can say yes to. That being said, it is, of course, quite an investment still. So, if you're listening to this podcast thinking, if I'm going to tell you whether or not you should get a pass, I'm not going to. But for me, the math works if I average once a month. So, one visit each month. And for me, with my life, with stuff I like to do, that's pretty realistic. So, there's that. So now that we talked a bunch of numbers and things, I want to talk about food because I've been to Efteling a couple times over the past few weeks and they have upped their food game. Now, first of all, they have the summer festival. The summer season is in full swing, which means that they have this courtyard where in wintertime they have winter Efteling and now they have summer. There's always a bunch of different entertainment, games, things like that, and exclusive food that's only available for this season. Now, all the times I went over the past couple of weeks, I looked at the food at the Zomerplein and did not have any. It's very Asia inspired. So there's ramen, there's dumplings. And from what I've heard, like I've heard from people who have gone and who have gotten this food, the dumplings weren't great. And the ramen really didn't have a lot of broth. And here's the thing, broth makes the ramen. So I don't understand like how there's hardly any broth in your ramen. However, do not fear because they also have updated their menu at the pagoda. That's the big flying thing that, the big round what do we call that? It's kind of like a big elevator thing. It's rotating and you can look over the park. It's a scenic ride, I guess, a scenic attraction. Underneath it, there's a little food stand and also Asian inspired. They have bao buns, they also have dumplings. They have a bunch of different stuff and that is actually pretty decent. There was a queue every time I was there, so it is popular. I tried the bao bun with chicken and I'm not mad at it at all. Last year summer they also had bao buns at the summer festival and those were okay. Like they put on a little bit too much sauce, but they learned from that, and this one is actually pretty good. By the way, the one last year was also pretty good when I asked them to not put as much sauce on it, and that was fine. But, this is definitely a step up because I've talked about it before. I think Efteling is severely lacking in food options, and I know not everybody agrees with me. When we have people visiting from the UK or the US or whatever, they are amazed with our snack wall. But if you've lived in the Netherlands all your life, then getting a deep fried snack out of a wall um, is no big deal. And then the rest of it is really just theme park food. Um, and by that, I mean, your fries, your burgers, things like that. And then, of course, because Efteling is super Dutch, we have the pancake restaurant, we have poffertjes, which, they're fine. They're fine. But I was very happy when they opened, for example, Brasserie Zeven at the new in the new hotel because they offer a bit more variation, a bit more of a varied menu, a bit more grown up food. So that was nice. That was for me an important step that they took to make the food offerings better. Now with what they have now, um, there's a lot of snacks and things, and they're kind of hit or miss because they depend on what you like. So it might also just be that a lot of it is not necessarily what I like in theme parks. I did shoot some footage of all the stuff I ate over the past few visits. So I'll be posting that soon. I'm teaching myself how to edit videos. It's great. But for me, the food is still lacking. So the new Asian inspired street food that they have at Pagoda is definitely a step in the right direction. Opening Brasserie Zeven was definitely a step in the right direction. But I would like to see um, a lot of it is very focused on Instagrammable snacks. They have like these big fancy coffees, and right now for the summer season, they often do these mocktails or potentially cocktails or things like that. But where's the your regular snacks, your regular drinks that you can get at multiple places in the park that are always good, fresh, seasonal, that are not deep fried. Essentially, that's what I'm trying to say. Give me some more stuff that's uniquely Efteling, you know? But like I said, I don't want to be too critical because they are making moves and they are moving in the right direction. So I have high hopes for it. And the good thing is, if I do extend my pass, I'm going to share all my thoughts on that with you. And if you want to actually see the food, then make sure you follow along on Instagram at Factor Nostalgia, where I'll be posting pictures because obviously I can't do that on a podcast. All that being said, this is where I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think I should extend my annual pass? Should I get another one? And if so, which one? Plus premium? Should I just not do it at all? Do let me know. I'm leaning one way, but I could change my mind when presented with the right arguments, as any grown up should. And also, how do you feel about Efteling's food offerings? Because, like I said, a lot of it is very personal, and I feel like some of it is just due to what I do and don't like. And they might actually have a very varied offering that I don't know, underestimate or something. So let me know. Let me know. And while you're typing out your responses with through all the channels in which you can respond to me, which will be listed in the show notes, you can also share this episode with somebody who might be interested, somebody who might be considering an annual pass, someone who has very strong opinions on theme park food, anybody who might find this interesting, share it with them. Also, I would really appreciate a rating or a review. If you haven't done so yet, please open up whatever podcast player you're using to listen to this and do that. And while you're there, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any future episodes. And I have some really fun ones coming up, you guys. Some really, really good ones. I hope I have my full voice back by then. So, thank you very much for listening to today's episode, and I will catch you in the next one.